Hello everybody, thank you for joining us for another Saturday workout. Today I'm going to focus on glute strength. I know all of you regulars are really surprised. Something we get made fun of a lot for in our facility is saying glutes tight, but it is very important, and the reason being is because your glutes are a massive muscle, right? And they sit behind us all day long, get real saggy, get real loose, don't do much for them. So the stronger your glutes are, the better you'll move, the less pain you should be in, as well as the hamstring, which a lot of these moves also include the hamstring. So if you're looking for a good way to just get your body moving, this is a perfect little routine, especially if you have lower back pain. This is a really great way to just kind of remind yourself of what you're supposed to be using when moving, tighten up your abs, tighten up your butt, make you feel better after. So Roger will be demonstrating and I'll be coaching. So we're going to start with a prone leg lift. Prone just, go ahead, sir. Prone just means face down, right? So he's face down on the mat. We use these a lot with beginners, but also, I mean, I use them at the beginning of my training too, right? So he's very well set up right now. So his head is relaxed, and that's a huge factor in a movement like this. Any type of prone movement, which if you know us, you know we're always saying relax your neck. What will happen is if he's trying to look up the whole time, which for some reason people love to look up like they have FOMO, he's going to put more strain on his lower back than we would like, so that he's able to focus on the glutes that we're trying to work. We're going to have him relax his head. So we always just say cradle your hands, relax your head, don't fall asleep. Next, he's going to tuck his toes under, right? So we don't want ballerina toes. We want nice dorsiflexed ankles. So his ankle's nice and flexed, right? He's going to squeeze his right butt cheek and lift his leg off the ground. Now, number one thing people do is they get way too excited and they lift way too much. So go show, right? So see how he's leaning away, right? So he's compensating. He's taking advantage of every muscle in his posterior side of his body. So the back side of his body, right? He's using his lumbar. Now the way I coach this is I say, I want you to first feel your glutes, then your hamstring, then your lower back, because it is supposed to work the whole posterior, but the glute should be the main puller. So it's a really great way to test yourself. Hey, are my glutes doing what they're supposed to be doing? Go ahead and squeeze the glute first, then lift the leg off the ground, right? So number one should be glute, second hamstring, third lower back. Does that sound right? Awesome, good. So in a traditional programming, we'd have people do 20 of these once. Now, if I'm dealing with someone that's having a hard time activating their glutes, I might throw in more of them throughout the programming, or just have them activate the glute first, then lift the leg. He's showing you that left leg as well. Breathing, any type of face down positioning, you might have a hard time breathing, so remind yourself, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, take your time. There's this big myth in the exercise world that if you're doing 20 reps, you have to get them all done right away, or you're not going to get the most out of the muscle. That makes no sense, and scientifically it's proven that you can rest and you're still like 10, take a couple breaths, re-engage and finish. You actually probably get better work out of something like that if you're struggling with it, because you're able to recruit the correct muscles and not compensate as if when you're really fatigued. Great exercise. If you haven't tried it, give it a try. So now Roger's going to flip over on his back into a supine position. I taught myself to remember supine a long time ago by the fact that it starts with an S, so it's facing the sky. So number one exercise in our facility that we use with every single client, including Tootsie. Actually, I don't think Toots could do these, even if she wanted to. It actually looks pretty funny if I try to imagine her doing a hip thrust. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pelvic tilt first, right? Pelvic tilting. Pelvic tilting is taking his pelvis, tilting it forward, right? Which is in return going to dump his lumbar into the ground. So what I do a lot is I say, can I get my hand under here, right? No, I cannot, which allows me to know, okay, he's safe, he's engaged. Or I'll say, I'm going to punch you in the gut. What would you do if someone's going to punch you in the gut, right? Bracing, tucking in. His head's relaxed on the floor, chin is slightly tucked, so he's not, letting it all hang out. Feet are hip width apart. People, for some reason, love to be like little ballerinas and close together. That's not correct alignment on the hips or the knees, right? So especially when you're doing strength training, try to align yourself correctly. Especially if you're really strong and you work all the time and you work in different ranges of motion, fine. But if you're new to more difficult movements, or if you've never done this exercise, definitely align yourself correctly. So he's pelvic tilting, he's digging his heels into the ground and his big toe. I've seen so many videos on Instagram of people doing hip thrusts with their toes off the ground. Your toe, your big toe specifically, is a big recruiter of your glute muscle, your big glute muscle. So we want to take advantage of that. So he's dug in flat. He's got about a 90-degree angle between his, on his knee, right? Now, the taller the person, that person will not want to go anything beyond a 90 because of the length of the femur. They're gonna get, sorry, I'm giving a little show. You'll get more hamstring activation than you will glute activation, and that's something I struggle with sometimes. So the positioning on the foot is important. So if you're struggling with this, you try it and you're like, I don't know if it's my hamstring, move your feet around, right? Bring them in, move them out, things like that. Okay, so now he's tucking his pelvis, his feet are set up correctly. He's going to squeeze his butt cheeks as hard as he can and get his hips as high as he can into the sky. Okay, excellent. So when someone's doing this, what I look for is, are they staying in a nice line? So when he's at the top of that hip thrust, go ahead and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Am I getting a line through his shoulder to his hip to his knee? And that's a good indicator for me that he's not hyperextending, right? Can you hyperextend? So hyperextension, which they do use this in yoga, we just don't use it in strength training, right? So what he's doing there is he's extending his lumbar and his glutes aren't doing any of the activation. So we specifically are trying to make the glutes do the work. So that's the intention of this specific exercise. What I'm noticing from my view is that he's also externally rotating his hips when he's squeezing up. So that's a good indicator for yourself. Hey, like, his knees are coming out right. He's really using his glutes right now. That's how I can tell, because the glutes are such a big muscle, they're opening everything up. That might be slightly over general public head, but it will make sense if you look down when you're hip thrusting. If you watch your knees kind of go out, you know, okay, yeah, I'm really squeezing my tush. Don't want to watch yourself all the time, though. Okay. All right, so number one glute exercise we use, hip thrusting, also known as the bridge, right? We aim to have clients do 20 of those at a session, but if this is going to be your primary workout, you could definitely do a 3x20. You know, 20, rest, 20, rest. Glute hip thrusting is also really good for your lumbar and core strength, right? You think, oh, well, I'm not crunching my abs, I'm not rotating my abs. Your glutes are part of your core, and he's bracing. Remember, he's pelvic tilting. Pelvic tilting is a core exercise, right? And for you ladies over 50, you don't want to go pee-pees when you jump up and down after you've had kids? Here you go, right? Strengthen those pelvic floor stabilizers. Okay, next we're going to do single leg. So what he's going to do is, we have two options here. The one I know Roger likes to use is, all he's going to do is take one leg and tuck it back at his belly and let the leg relax. For some people, this is just not comfortable, so we allow them to cross the ankle over the knee. Not my favorite, but some people prefer it. So let's go back to the other one because I like it more. Okay. So he's tucked in. He's now going to tilt his pelvis again, right? Sometimes, especially for beginners, they need to use their hands on the ground, right? Pressing in because of the amount of now instability that he's feeling when he doesn't have both his legs on the ground. One thing we do not want in a single leg hip thrust is to feel like the non-working leg is falling away, right? So he's kind of hip dropping to the left. So that's, yep, exactly. So abs, right? Squeezing your abs as hard as you can, bracing. If you want me to, I can come over and just like smack you in the abs the whole time you're doing it. So beginners, right? Good thing they were tight. I noticed a little extra fat there than usual though. So beginners, we'd have them do 10 each side. More advanced, you can aim for 20 each side. Now, remember, this is a glute exercise, right? Glutes should be the primary movers. Hamstrings are definitely helping. Abs are helping. We don't want all you to feel is the lower back. If that's the case, aim for holds, right? So instead of a repetition, he's going to squeeze his butt and hold at the top. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. So for someone that's having a hard time activating the glutes, I always resort to a hold versus a repetition so they have more time to recruit and think through what they're doing. Sound good? So same idea, right? Maybe 3 sets of 10 to 20 if you're using this as an actual program. If you're using it as a warm-up, we use 20s, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the bench over for Roger. Now you don't necessarily, need to go buy yourself a massive bench like this. You just need a couch, a stool, a kitchen chair, a step even would work, because height is not crucially important. Now, the higher the object, the harder the exercise. Yeah, for sure. So we usually don't even start people on something this high. We usually start them on a box a little bit lower, maybe like 12 inches. I think this is more like 16 inches. Yeah? 18? Whoop, that was really far off there. Okay, so hamstring raises. Exact same exercise, but now heels are elevated on our object. Now, one mistake people make quite often, which it's not necessarily a mistake, it's just not the purpose of the exercise. So you can, this is an exercise, digging your feet into an object in front of, but it's just not the one we're going to show you today. So feet on the bench, right, digging down. I always say to people, you're trying to break the object down through the ground, right? So he's trying to drive his heels down into that bench, breaking it down to the ground, pelvic tilting, and then squeezing his butt as hard as he can. Hamstring dominant, glute support. And what I mean by that is the hamstrings are going to scream at you saying, I want to stop, this is horrible, why do I feel like I'm going to rip out of your leg? But your glutes should be there supporting, right? So abs are tight, glutes are tight, he's pushing into the bench, breathing. Lots of people's favorite exercise right here. Killer exercise. Close to Bulgarians, actually. Okay, so it gets even better because now we can do the single legs, right? Single leg hamstring curl is even better. Same as a single leg hip thrust, he's going to relax it back at his chest. Now, way more difficult. So I have, on many occasions, had people do 5 and 5, let them recover in 5 and 5. Obviously, the stronger the hamstring, the more capable of repetitions. He's bracing his abs, he's squeezing his tush, and he's pushing into that bench and thrusting up. Good. And notice how he's aiming for full hip extension. What I mean by that is he's not leaving the hip. So go ahead and don't go all the way up. Yes, right. So see how he's kind of like halfway there? That's what a lot of people do. And it's not necessarily intentional. It could just be tight hips or the lack of the strength. But really do your best at the top. Really push through at the top of the movement, right? Beautiful. Excellent. Very difficult exercise, but really good glute and hamstring work, yeah? Okay. So like I said, don't have to start this high. You can start with something lower. Doubles 20, the singles 10 to 20. Be careful with them because they will make you realize that you have a hamstring, if nothing else has yet. Okay, we are going on to a quad position, so all fours. We're going to do donkey kickbacks. Now, this exercise is probably top of my list for the amount of times I've seen people doing this incorrectly, for sure. Really easy exercise to screw up. We don't want to use the knee joint, okay? That's number one. You're not using a knee joint in a donkey kick, you're using the hip joint. So what Roger's going to do, digging evenly through his hands, he's going to lift his right leg. Now, when he lifts his right leg, your immediate instinct is to lean away, right? You're doing your best not to lean away. And to help that, you're going to push into that stable, non-stable side so that he's nice and equal here and he's not leaning at me. Good. He's squeezing his right butt cheek and driving up in, well, that's a little squishy today. No, what do they say? You can bounce a quarter off of it. He's doing his best not to rotate open at me, right? Stay focused, Heather. He's kicking towards the sky. He's not extending the knee joint. See how he's not extending? People always want to go like this and then push up, which then the hamstring's going to get involved. We want this joint in these muscles to do all the work. So we're taking the knee out of it and forcing the hip to do the work. Beautiful. Squeezing at the top. So at the top of the movement, basically, you can see from the camera side that his hip and his knee are equal, right? Nice straight line, horizontal line when he's right there. He's not having any extension here, right? He's not overextending, and he's not pushing through his leg. Exactly. There you go. Perfect. So nice engaged. So he's bracing his abs right there too, right? He's not letting his abs just hang at the ground. You would know if you're doing it wrong because you'll say to yourself, oh, all I feel is my lower back working. Well, something's wrong, right? Tuck your pelvis, focus more on the glute engaged, focus more on just the hip doing the work, not the knee extending. Seems like a simple exercise, but take your time with it for sure. Excellent. How's that feel? Good? Okay. We're going to move on to last one, which is elevated hip thrust, which Taylor and I showed you last week, a double-sided or a double bench version of it. But today I decided just to go over the basic glute exercises that we use quite a bit. And I didn't really get that much into, I mean, I guess I did. I talked about why glute training is important, right? Yeah. Okay, so elevated hip thrust. Easily screwed up form, right? So bra strap for all you guys out there that wear bras, right under your shoulder blades, right? People get real low on this, and a good way to know that you are too low is you'll push the object away from you. So if Roger starts hip thrusting right now and that object starts to slide back on the turf, I know as a coach, or he knows as the client, that something's wrong. This object should not be moving, right? So get yourself more on top of the object if you're feeling like you're pushing it, okay? Remember, feet are hip width apart. This is very similar to the one we did on the ground, right? Abs are braced. Yeah, rock solid. Eyes are staying forward the whole time. I know I got a little like intense about that last week, right? I was like really intense about it. Keep your eyes forward, just don't look at the sky. It's not good for your neck, okay? Okay, so abs are braced. He's gonna squeeze his glutes as hard as he can up into the sky. Doubles. Beautiful. So at the top of the movement, you have a nice straight line, right? So knees, hips, shoulders, straight line across. Eyes are facing forward. Roger's preferring to extend his arms over the object because he has a nice long object. If you're using a couch, a chair, an ottoman, cross your arms. Now, this bench is obviously intended for something like this. If your object is like a hard wooden stool, put a towel over it because the idea is not to be in pain on your spine the whole time, right? You want to be able to focus on flexing your glutes. Really great exercise, harder than it looks if you've never done it. People really feel their core in something like this. Any type of lower back issues, great exercise to add to your routine. So now we're going to go into the single leg version. Obviously more challenging, so be cautious of the amount of reps you choose if you've never done it. He's going to elevate one leg, the way I like it done. Yep, exactly. Oh, this way. Yep, perfect. So, and then bracing. So Roger showed you a straight leg version, and the reason I said no is because I think it strains the lower back more. So for beginners that haven't, executed this over and over again, tucking the knee in just to have a better engage on the working leg and better focus versus sometimes I think if you extend the leg, you're focused on that extended leg the whole time, right? He's switching, he's tilting, and he's also not letting his lumbar roll again, right? He's keeping it nice and tight. Eyes are forward, digging through his big toe and his heel, right? 10 on singles, 20 on doubles, 2 to 3 times through. I promise your glutes will be burning. Now, will they look like J-Lo's or Beyonce's? Probably not, because I'm not actually sure they're real. So, and I don't think I want my glutes to look like that anyways. Okay, so.
What, keep going?
No, yeah, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
How long do you think we should let Roger do hip thrusting for? No, guys, that is my top 5 or 6 favorite glute exercises. Please feel free to leave us comments or questions if you really like stuff like that and you'd like more of it. Roger and I are going on vacation next week, so maybe we'll have a little workout for you from New Hampshire. I just roped us right into that, didn't I? Yep. Alrighty, thank you so much, guys. Like I said, please leave us feedback, and Taylor's still single if you're interested. Have a good night.